Hello there, you're with me Mohit in my classroom, at my classroom. Hang on. Hello there, you're with me Mohit and this is my classroom. I'm sure most of us have been there wherein we were unsure of the usages between the prepositions at and in. Nonetheless, today we take up these two prepositions of place along with their uses, especially discussing the tricky cases wherein the possibility of both the prepositions seems true. Let's begin. Alright, so let's begin with the first case, which is activity or place. And the rule over here is quite simple, which is that if you are talking about a place with its purpose in your mind or the activity in your mind, you're going to prefer the preposition at. On the other hand, if you're talking about a place with no concern about its purpose or the activity over there, rather you're concerned with the place itself, then the preposition to go for is in. Let's elaborate that with some examples. We've got the first sentence over here as we had lunch at the restaurant. So the purpose of the restaurant being highlighted here, which is to have food, and the activity over there is have lunch, and hence the sentence as we had lunch at the restaurant with the preposition at. As opposed to this, if I comment upon the ambience or the atmosphere of the restaurant in general, I'll have a sentence with in this time as it was hot in the dining hall that belonged to the very same restaurant. Let's take one more example. We've got a sentence over here as I'm going to work out at the gym. So the purpose or the activity at the gym, which is to work out, hence the sentence with the preposition at as I'm going to work out at the gym. Whereas if I comment upon the gym once again as a place in general or the facilities over there, I've got a sentence with in once again as there are new machines in the gym. Taking one more example, I have the sentence as we're studying at the library. So I'm sure it's already clear by now. You've got studying as the purpose or the activity at the library, hence the sentence with the preposition at. As opposed to this, if I once again comment on the library as a place in general or the facilities therein, I have the sentence with in once again as there are lots of books in the library. Coming to the final example, this time a hotel. So I've got the sentence as they stayed at the Marriott. So the purpose of the hotel or the activity therein being highlighted, which is to stay overnight. You've got at over there and the sentence as they stayed at the Marriott. And you have the final sentence over here wherein I comment upon the hotel as a place, and this sentence is with in once again as there were 3 swimming pools in the hotel. So that is case number 1, activity or the place with regard to at or in. So it all comes down to the fact that at in case of the purpose or the activity, while in for the place itself. That's case number 1. Let's move ahead to case number 2. Alright, so on to the second case, which is nature of the location. And by that, I simply mean the situation or the size of the location. Let's have a look at the rules attached to that. So you're going to use the preposition at to talk about position at a point. By this, I simply mean to say that whenever I wish to speak of a smaller, more specific area, I'm going to use the preposition at. As opposed to this, if I wish to talk of a general position or a larger area, then the preposition of choice will be in. Let me start you off with a simple example over here. So you've got a sentence as he lives in Manhattan at Park Avenue. So what is that bigger address, that larger geographical area in there? That's Manhattan. So that goes along with the preposition in. As opposed to that, what is that smaller, more specific address in the sentence? That is Park Avenue, and we use that along with the preposition at, giving you the sentence he lives in Manhattan at Park Avenue. Hope that clears things up. Let's just dig in deep with the help of more examples. So I have a sentence here to illustrate the specific nature of at vis-a-vis location. You've got a sentence as it's very hot at the center of the earth. So you've got a specific point over there, which is the center of the earth, and that is expressed using the preposition at, giving you the sentence it's very hot at the center of the earth. Now let's make some comparisons between at and in vis-a-vis location. You've got a sentence as it's very cold at the North Pole. Now the North Pole is the specific point on the globe, and that being expressed using the preposition at, giving you it's very cold at the North Pole. As opposed to this, let's say if I were to take a larger geographical area, this time my preposition will change from at to in, giving me a sentence as it's very cold in Russia. Which brings me to a very important point, that countries are larger geographical areas and are almost always used along with the preposition in. Taking one more example here, we've got the sentence as turn left at the traffic lights. Now, what are the traffic lights? Traffic lights are smaller, more specific areas contained within the street, and that specific nature being reflected in the preposition at over here, giving you the sentence, turn left at the traffic lights. As opposed to this, let's say if I were to have the word street itself in the sentence, so my preposition at would once again change to in, giving me the sentence as there's a lot of traffic in the street, or you've got the American usage on the street. But you cannot have the preposition at over here for the simple reason that a street is a much wider, larger, stretched area and cannot be deemed specific. Taking some final examples, you've got expressions such as at the bottom of the hill, at the top of the mountain, and so on, being specific points. But if you are talking about some storage objects, then that at is going to change into in, giving you expressions such as in the bottom of the bag, in the bottom of the suitcase, and so on. And this was point number 2 with regard to at and in, and the lesson over here being that you're going to prefer at as your preposition whenever you wish to talk about a smaller, more specific area, but you'll go with the preposition in whenever you're going to mention a larger, broader area. That's point number 2. Let's go ahead to case number 3. All right, so on to case number 3, which is points on a journey and meeting places. We begin with points on a journey, and the rule over here is that whenever you wish to speak of a place as a stage or a stoppage along a journey, you're going to use the preposition at along with that. Whereas if you wish to speak of the place in general, then once again you're going to utilize the preposition in. Let's have a look at an example over here. We've got a sentence as the plane stops for an hour at Berlin. Now over here you're treating Berlin first as a stage or a stoppage along a journey and then as a city, hence the preference to the preposition at. As opposed to this, I have another sentence which is my aunt lives in Berlin. This time, Berlin is not a stoppage along a journey, rather it's a place of residence, rather a city of residence for someone. Hence, you've got the preposition in working for Berlin over there. You've got 2 more rules backing the use of in this sentence. The first one being the rule of the large area, as discussed in the previous section, that all the large areas go along with the preposition in, which is why you have in working for Berlin as well. One additional rule which I wish to introduce over here is the rule of 3D. Now the real world as we see it is 3-dimensional, and in grammar we treat all the 3D objects and the 3D places along with the preposition in. So all those going the way of the preposition in. So that is the first case, which is points on a journey. Let's move along to meeting places. Now the rule regarding meeting places is that you're going to use the preposition at for the place that you fix as a meeting spot, whereas once again if you speak of the place in general, you're going to prefer the preposition in. Let's have a look at some examples here as well. You've got the first one as let's meet at the club. So the club is the meeting point, hence we have the preposition at in the sentence, and the sentence let's meet at the club. As opposed to this, if I'm commenting upon the club as a place in general, I'm not considering club as a meeting point this time. I have the preposition in over there, and the sentence as it was nice and warm in the club. Now there are 3 reasons vouching for that in. First of all, I'm not talking about the club as a meeting place once again, rather I'm just commenting upon its atmosphere. Secondly, you've got the rule of 3D also working for the club, and finally taking you back to case number 1, that I do not have the activity that takes place at the club in my mind, rather I just have the place, the club itself in my mind, and hence you've got the use of the legitimate use of the preposition in case of this sentence. Let's have a look at a final example over here. We've got a sentence as I'm catching up with some old friends down at the pub. So bottoms up it is. So the place of rendezvous that's been decided is the pub, hence you've got at the pub. As opposed to this, once again, if I'm generally commenting upon the place, the pub itself, or the facilities over there, I have the sentence with the preposition in this time, which is the furniture in the pub is very comfortable. And that's all there is in point number 3, which is points on a journey and meeting points, both of which utilizing the preposition at. And now on to the next case. Let's go. All right, so on to the final section, which is proper names and places where people study. We begin with proper names first, and the rule over here is that we have a preference for the preposition at whenever we wish to speak the actual names or the proper names of buildings or organizations, whereas we use the preposition in when we wish to speak of the place in general. Let's have a look at some examples over here. We've got the sentence as she works at Google. Google being the name of the organization, you've got the preposition at. As opposed to this, you've got another sentence over here, which is she works in a very large IT firm. Taking another example, we have the sentence as mother and I are at Big Bazaar. As opposed to this, you've got mother and I are in a shopping mall. So that's the usage of in and at with relation to proper names. But over here, I'd like to point out something important, which is that when it comes to proper names, there is no right or wrong between the two prepositions. You can go ahead and even use in with proper names. It's just a matter of preference and popular usage that you have at working for proper names. And now on to the final section, which is where people study. So you're going to use the preposition at along with the names of institutions where people study, but when you wish to once again talk about the place in general, you're going to shift to the preposition in. Let's have a look at an example over here. So you've got he studies at Cambridge, and this time by Cambridge I wish to imply the university. So you have the sentence as he studies at Cambridge. On the other hand, you've got the sentence as he lives in Cambridge. This time by Cambridge the implication is the city itself, hence you've got the preposition in over there, and the sentence he lives in Cambridge. And now on to some miscellaneous uses of the preposition at. You've got the miscellaneous use as group activity. So you've got expressions such as at a party, at a meeting, at a concert, at a lecture, at the match, and so on. And that's all there was in the final section, which was proper names and places where people study. With this, we come to the end of this little presentation. I hope it has benefited you. If it has, please go ahead, like, share, and subscribe. I'll be back very soon. Till then, stay safe. Thank you so much for watching.